also for the well-being of humanity. You may wonder about the different ways you can classify your existence. When I say classify your existence, I'm talking about the quality. You see, for so long, we have been absorbed in quantity, quantification of our life in terms of acquisitions, experiences, acquaintances, relationships. It all adds up, doesn't it? One after the other, after the other, after the other. So naturally you start wondering, where does this all lead? What's the sum total of all these endeavors? But there's so much pressure, social pressure upon you to just go on getting, go on acquiring. Because what else is there to do? When we look at the Bhakti Yoga wisdom, the wisdom of ultimate connection and real identification, we find that human beings have a major problem in that they don't know what to do with their tongue and they don't know what to do with their ear. So we talked about classifying your life in terms of quality. And we've been briefly explaining how we're overwhelmed with quantification, whether we know it or not. We lack contentment with quality, although we want quality in all our life's activities. So what is that quality that we're looking for? It's satisfaction and contentment. By pursuing so many different things, so many different people, we hope to get the quality of satisfaction and contentment. So the pressure is on us. You've got to keep turning over. You've got to keep pushing. Try this, try that. Try this thing, try that thing. Try this person, try that person. With the hope that finally you'll achieve some satisfaction and contentment. So many of you know about this game you're forced into, race that you're forced to run. And there's fear in this constant pursuit. Fear that you won't get what others supposedly are getting. You know, FOMO, fear of missing out. There's a belief that material contentment and satisfaction exist and everyone is getting it, but not you. And you look at yourself with kindness and understanding when you look at yourself that I'm not asking for much. I just want some peace of mind, some good feelings, some satisfaction, some contentment. I'm not asking for much. But it's those other people who are wrecking the world. I know what I want, we tell ourselves. And it's just a little bit. But this is what most everyone thinks. I just want a little bit more. It's like there are two birds on a tree. One bird is called more, and the other bird is called better. We just assume they inhabit the same tree. But now, as humanity goes through So many crises. Environmental, the threat of nuclear war, economic, political, social. So many crises. We're wondering about those two birds. Do they actually inhabit the same tree? Because it seems that although the more bird is still on the tree, the bird known as better has flown away. So here we are, trapped in the syndrome of more. But we're starting to realize we're not getting anything that's better. Those two birds don't stay together anymore, if they ever did. So here we are with pressure on us that we've got to achieve satisfaction and contentment, and therefore you're justified in trying this, trying that. Serial everything, serial relationships, serial purchasing, retail therapy, on and on it goes. We're so restless because we're so unsatisfied. And this lack of satisfaction leads to frustration. And from frustration, the next step is anger. Because we have so many unfulfilled desires, which we were sure could be filled. We were sure they could be fulfilled. It seems so natural, doesn't it? That on the one hand you have desires, and on the other hand you have fulfillment of the desires. It seems that those two birds are always together. Otherwise, what's the point in having desires if the desires can't be fulfilled? So we assume, right? I have these desires, and so they should be fulfilled. What the Bhakti Yoga wisdom tells us is that desires for the material can never be fulfilled. We have made a wrong calculation at the very beginning of the equation. But let's talk about sound. But actually we have been talking about sound because according to the quality of your lifestyle, what you do with your tongue and what you do with your ears is affected. And what you do with your tongue and what you do with your ears affects your lifestyle. So it's a loop. What you vibrate with your tongue, in other words, what you talk about, and what you hear with your ears shapes your life. And then the shape that your life is in affects what you do with your tongue and what you do with your ears. So in other words, you are the sound that your tongue makes and your ears hear. That's you. There can be so many different ways that you judge a person. Many of you will agree, don't judge a person by the looks, although everyone does it. Don't judge a person by the way they dress. Again, everyone does it. Don't judge a person just by the company they keep. Treat each person as an individual. Judge each person as an independent, autonomous entity. Still, most everyone looks at who a person is hanging out with, and you judge that person in that way. But the way of analyzing persons according to the ancient Bhakti Yoga wisdom is that you judge a person according to the sound vibration that comes off their tongue. Then you know where they're really at. Are they just talking about temporary things that come and go? Or are they talking? Is the tongue vibrating topics of what is beyond the material illusion? Is their tongue vibrating that kind of topic? And are their ears hearing that kind of sound vibration about what is beyond physiology, what is beyond psychology? In other words, what is beyond the body and the mind? Are we talking about that? Are we hearing that? Once you pinpoint this way, the most accurate way, the most realistic way of judging a human being, then you start to see clearly what is illusion and what is factual. When you look at Bhagavad Gita, some of you are familiar with that prime Bhakti Yoga text spoken by Krishna. You find that without a proper spiritual lifestyle, you can never get out of the trap of just the material. Often people talk about trying to be spiritual, but that can't be done without lifestyle transformation. And lifestyle transformation can't happen without changing what the tongue is vibrating and what the ears are hearing. So if you want to do a thorough self-study of your life, you can keep track for a few days. Keep track every day for a few days of what you're talking about with your tongue and hearing with your ears. And then you'll know where you're at. Generally, you'll find that people are just talking about the most temporary things. Things that come and go so quickly and do not give them any contentment or satisfaction. Still, they persist in talking about those things. You may have wondered about that. How to get out of this trap? The tongue is just yapping about this and that and the other. It's like your tongue has become a desert. And you want to know, where is the oasis? Where's the water in this desert of the tongue? And your ears become so dull because of just hearing material sound vibration. So if we can learn proper techniques for using our tongue and our ears, our whole consciousness can be transformed. And consciousness is the center of our existence. Our awareness. Without our awareness, what do we know? We can't be aware of anything. So if you want to change your consciousness, or change your awareness, again, change what the tongue is vibrating and what the ears are hearing. So, thinking about what to talk to you about today, I was thumbing through one of our prime Bhakti Yoga texts. In fact, it's the graduate study to Bhagavad Gita. And there it said that those who are in illusion have countless subject matters for talking about and hearing, while neglecting what is their own self-interest. Just think about it. What is your self-interest? Well, I want this, I want that. If I got this, it would be good for me. We analyze our life in terms of attracting happiness, good times, and beating back the stress, the bad times. Get rid of the bad times and grab the good times. That's how we evaluate our life. But those so-called good and bad times just come and go so easily. Who is the person doing the grabbing and why? No doubt some of you have wondered. Maybe you wake up in the morning and you think, what reason do I have for lifting my head off the pillow? Anyone? You ask yourself that question? Well, I gotta go to work. Gotta go to school. Gotta study. But why? What's the ultimate purpose of it all? But you can't think about that for too long, because that's not the way of life in a consumer society. You've got to be active, doing something, even though you don't know why. So what is this force that's driving us onward? We have these ideas in our mind that have been put there by hearing. Ever since you were a little kid, an infant in fact, you've been taking on board sound vibration about how to be happy, how to be content, how to get satisfaction. You've been hearing that since an infant. Actually, the Bhakti Yoga wisdom will explain that you've been hearing this for countless lifetimes, and it's all just snowballed. Ever since you were an infant, sound vibration has saturated your consciousness. If you want to be happy, do like this. Satisfied persons do like that. You've been taking this on board. In other words, these sounds have been downloaded into you for so long that you think it's me. Your goals, your aspirations, your hopes, your dreams, it's all been downloaded into you. And that content in your mind makes you push on, chasing a dream that's never fulfilled. Often I explain to audiences that not only is your body and mind changing, but also your idea of what is happiness changes. Your ideas of what is success change. If you had, when you were 13 years old, wrote on some paper what you think success is, and then looked at it 10 years later, you would see it. Things have changed. Similarly, at every stage of your life, every 10 years or so, 15 years, you look back at what you wrote as to what you thought success was 15 years ago, and you, no, that's not where I'm at. So your notions of success change, and so do your notions of happiness change. Because the body and mind are always changing. This is the first thing that Krishna teaches you in the prime Bhakti Yoga text, Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, for those who don't know, means Song of the Supreme Opulent One. So the first lesson you get, spiritual kindi, is you are different from your body and mind. The body and mind are always changing, but you, the particle of spiritual consciousness, are beyond or transcendental to your physical and your mental. So because your body and mind are always changing, that means your material conceptions of happiness are always changing. I'm looking at this young lady here, so peacefully, contentedly, and embracing the parent. And everyone knows that's what a little girl does. But you won't find a 40-year-old person doing this. The way of contentment has changed. So I often explain how when you're in your teens, 20s, and 30s, what is your idea of happiness? It's summed up in one word in terms of the experiences you want. Awesome. Whatever you do when you're in your 20s, 30s, it's got to be awesome. Otherwise, how can you get on Instagram? What are you going to say? You've got to have awesome experiences. And it feels awesome no matter how temporary the experience is, as long as it's awesome for a few seconds. You feel so successful, right? You want to go to awesome places, meet awesome people, eat awesome things, hear awesome music. Never mind, it's just a flash in the sky like a shooting star. As long as for a few seconds, it's awesome. But you're not always going to think like that. What happens when you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s? Oh no. What are your conceptions of happiness then? You'd be surprised to know that in the so-called golden years of life, when you're elderly, yes, it does happen, when you're elderly, you lose your fixation on awesomeness and you just derive some little contentment from the ordinary things in life. Going outside and breathing fresh air, taking the grandchildren to a park and watching them swing. The hunt for awesomeness has ended. Now it's just trying to relish the everyday experiences of life. Now, if someone had told you when you were in your 20s or 30s, happiness will be just about taking a walk in the park alone and smelling the air and looking at the leaves on the trees, you would say, oh my God, there's got to be more to my life than that. But your body is changing, your mind is changing, and similarly, your notions of contentment will change. So the question that we should ask ourselves, and by asking this question, our spiritual transformation can begin. The question we should be asking ourselves is, what about me doesn't change, although the body and mind are always changing? Even my very ideas, my notions of contentment and satisfaction are changing because my body and mind are changing. What is it about me that is changeless? When we start asking these kind of questions, vibrating these kind of sounds, hearing that kind of information, then we start to make a significant difference in our life. Then we're on the road to self-discovery. The quest for enlightenment has begun. So just start using your tongue in the best way. Asking questions. Am I this body and mind? Am I something beyond the body and mind? What is it about me that doesn't change? What is real happiness? What is real satisfaction? How can I be truly satisfied and happy amidst all the changes, all the so-called happiness and distress that comes and goes? When you start using your tongue in that way, who am I? Why am I pushed around by all these notions that have been downloaded into my mind? What's going on? When you use your tongue in that way, especially in the association of others who are using their tongue in that way, then you can see a major difference happening in your life. By asking those kind of questions, am I the body? Am I the mind? Am I something different? What is the ultimate source? Do I have any connection to the ultimate source? When we start asking those kind of questions, then with the ears, we start to hear. And we wonder, why is it that no one else is asking these kind of questions? And you start to see the mass illusion, that environment of all-pervading illusion. And you think, oh no, is this all that there is to life? There must be something more. And yes, I'm happy to tell you that there is something more. And now, at this point, many persons think, uh-oh, watch out. He's going to dump on us some religious beliefs. Run for the door. No, I'm not. Nowhere in Bhagavad Gita, which I hope many of you will have the opportunity to read, nowhere in Bhagavad Gita does Krishna ask you for belief. Because you may believe this way, you may believe that way. Beliefs change all the time. Everywhere in that prime Bhakti Yoga text, Krishna asks you to enter the Bhakti laboratory and make the experiment. And here are the results you'll get if you perform the method of the experiment properly. So that's fair. So then you say, well, why doesn't everyone do that? If Krishna is not asking for any belief, Krishna is simply asking that you take up the spiritual methodology, the spiritual processes. Why doesn't everyone do it? Because not everyone is interested in doing that. Those of you who are wanting to push ahead with your individual spiritual progress will notice that people are at different places in their spiritual development. Someone may be your partner, maybe your mother, your father, your child, your neighbor, whatever, your friend, and you want to confide in them or at least discuss with them about what could be beyond all the false pursuits of happiness. And they don't want to talk about it with you. In fact, they wonder, what's happened to you? Why don't you just do what everyone else does? Billions of people can't be wrong. And anyway, they'll tell you, even if it's true that all we're doing is just temporary, same old, that's the only game in town. And then you'll hear them excuse themselves. Like, look, what do you want out of me? I didn't make the world the way it is. So you start to wonder, am I alone in the cold, indifferent universe? No one is asking these questions. So then you come to the Bhakti corner, and we tell you, congratulations for asking those questions. Your human life has actually just begun. And we introduce you to the world of mantras. A mantra is not something made up by someone. A mantra is prescribed sound given in the ancient Bhakti Yoga texts. It's sound that is actually not originating from within the world of time and space. It's truly mystical sound. Mystical meaning it's beyond the material. So then you might say, well, yeah, right. How do we know that? Apply that mantra in your life and see what the changes are that come about. And then you know you're dealing with genuine spiritual sound. Mantra literally means a sound that can rescue your mind from illusion. And we already talked about all the illusions that pervade our individuality and pervade humanity. So if you contact a genuine mantra, which doesn't cost you anything, no one can charge money for giving you a mantra. It's not a secret also. The genuine mantras are stated in the Bhakti Yoga text, and the effects of your vibrating those mantras are also described. So there's nothing foggy, there's nothing vague about mantras. Especially, the yoga texts recommend the Krishna mantra as the prime mantra for this day and age in which everyone is so disturbed and agitated and unsteady in their mind. Very unfavorable conditions for enlightenment, for self-realization, for self-discovery. Many of you may have had some spiritual thoughts from time to time, but you felt outnumbered, overwhelmed by the mass illusion. You wondered, is it possible in this day and age to actually be transcendental, beyond the body and mind? Is it possible for that ultimate connection to the ultimate source? And that's why the mantra meditation is so important. Sound vibration will transform you. Not just any old sound. Mantra meditation means prescribed sound. So this is why we stress the Krishna mantra. Is it our sectarian choice? No, it's what the yoga texts prescribe. Just like you go to a doctor, you get a script, and then you take it to the chemist. You don't walk into the chemist and say, just give me anything that's on your shelf. No. You've consulted a doctor who supposedly knows what he or she is doing, and they look at your condition, your situation, and the doctor writes you out a script, and you take it to the chemist. So similarly, the script for our state of mass illusion is the Krishna mantra, which will transform your consciousness. By vibrating that mantra with your tongue and hearing it with your ears, step number 1 will be, you start to notice my consciousness is becoming clean. I don't identify so strongly with my body and mind. And then step number 2, you'll notice, is that the fire of material desire starts to diminish. Some people become afraid of that. Oh no, I'm not hankering for illusion anymore. Others feel great relief. I'm out of the storm. Gradually, the Krishna mantra reconnects you with Krishna, the unlimitedly attractive ultimate source. And that's the ultimate goal of the yoga and meditation system. So finally, one point. You may know persons who do the yoga postures. You may do that yourself. I also do. Right? You may know persons who do the breathing exercises, the pranayama. What is the purpose of that? Many persons don't know that the purpose of the physical yoga is to make your mind peaceful so that you can hear a discussion like we're having now. That's the purpose of the physical postures and the breathing exercises, to chill you out so that you can peacefully hear. And by properly hearing, you can properly ask questions, you can properly use your tongue. And then you're on the way for the deepest personal transformation from the material to the spiritual. So those are some points I'd like to leave with you tonight. I'm sure that if any of you will apply those points, you will indeed see such an extraordinary transformation in your life. And what's more, as you progress in your Bhakti Yoga wisdom, you'll be able to give the greatest help and love to others. You'll be able to do the greatest social welfare work by giving knowledge of the true self beyond the body and mind, by giving knowledge of the ultimate source and how that ultimate source is infinitely attractive. In this way, your real life will have begun. So I thank you all for your kind attention. Maybe there are some questions? Whoever asks the first question gets a special prize.
Extra dessert.
Extra dessert. Yes.
Extra dessert would be nice.
Note that down.
I just wanted to ask what you thought about creation, if that's a part of wanting more materialistic things, or is that a part of better?
Everyone is creating something. By your consciousness, you're creating your next body. The body that you have now is a creation of your consciousness in the past life. So you're co-creating with nature as to what your next body will be. You have a body now. Why shouldn't you have a body in the future? Why shouldn't you have had a body in the past? Even though the body is always changing. Because we have a desire to control and enjoy the material illusion, you need a body to do that. But your material body is actually based on your spiritual reality. Just like the clothes you're wearing are based on your physical, so-called reality, similarly, your physicality is based on your spiritual existence. But that spiritual existence is unknown to us because we're so absorbed in the material. So yes, you're co-creating with nature at every moment. And the sum total, or the result of that co-creation with nature, is your next body. So the intelligent person thinks, what will my next body be? Will I get a human body? Will I get a tree body? Will I get an ant body? So many bodies. Why do I have a human body? You have a human body because you deserved the opportunity to ask questions with your tongue and hear the answers with your ears. What am I? Why am I in this body? What's the purpose of my having a body? Those kind of questions indicate a real human being. So thank you for asking such a nice question. I will be sure to reward you. Yes.
I'd like to know, what is your idea of happiness?
What is my idea of happiness? You cannot actually experience real happiness when you think you're an autonomous, separate entity. The Bhakti Yoga wisdom will teach you that real happiness is in relation to the ultimate source. Just like we are tiny particles, but we don't exist alone. We're in relation to the complete whole. And that complete whole is unlimitedly attractive. Therefore, the yoga texts say Krishna, which means the unlimitedly, infinitely attractive ultimate source. In relation to that ultimate source, that's where you look for happiness. But you can't do that on your own. You're too tiny. Just like, again, look at this little girl here. This is happiness in relation to the mother. But we've forgotten our ultimate relationship, and we're struggling to manufacture happiness on our own. That's the struggle for existence. I'm an independent happiness manufacturer. And with your personal, individual happiness factory, you try to create happiness for yourself, disconnected from the ultimate source. I think some of you know that the very word yoga means to link, to connect. But to connect with what? No one knows. So your question leads to self-realization, to real enlightenment. Anything else?
What do you suggest we do when we turn away from material wanting and craving, but we start craving more and more spiritually as well. And
It's good for you to crave spiritually. That means good health, good consciousness. You can't extinguish desire. Sometimes I give talks on the subject, the fire of desire. Everyone's interested in that. Sometimes persons think they're intelligent by trying to extinguish or deny all desire. But no, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna will teach you that you cannot stamp out desire. You have to learn how to desire in perfection. Desire is the symptom of a conscious being. Our problem is that we are desiring in the wrong way. So the Bhakti Yoga process, the Krishna conscious process, transforms the way you desire, but you can't destroy your desire. You have to purify it. So therefore, the ultimate goal of the yoga and meditation system is the love supreme. That means the best kind of desire. Maybe some of you have tried to have no desire. Anyone here try to do that? How long did it last? Your friends call you up on a Friday night. You coming out with us tonight? No, I'm going to just stop all desire. You may have tried for a couple of hours. I'm not going to desire anything. Just nothingness. Nothingness is. But sooner or later, very soon in fact, you start desiring this, desiring that. So what to do with your desire power? You can't kill it. You have to know how to desire in perfection. That requires knowledge.
Hello, thank you for the talk, it's very enlightening.
Thank you for coming.
My question is, what do you think about what to do with resentment and forgiveness when these people you can't run away from, like example, family or in-laws, what kind of, they're negative feelings, what do you do with them?
For 50 years, I've traveled on every continent of the world. Up and down, every continent of the world. And I noticed that the in-law problem is everywhere. You have to develop your own genuine contentment and learn how to tolerate the various imbalances around you without getting all bent out of shape. That means you've got to have your own treasure within. Because as you say, you can't get away from your in-laws generally. If the harassment's not coming from your in-laws, it's coming from your boss at work, or it's coming from this one, that one, your own spouse, your own partner. It's always something. You've got to develop your treasure within. And when you have your own treasure within, you can tolerate the imbalances that occur around you. Be the change that you want to see in others.
So I just want to ask about meditation and spirituality. Like I just get sometimes confused about, is there any link between the two?
Between what?
Spirituality and meditation?
What's the link between spirituality and meditation?
Everyone's meditating on something. The burglar is meditating on how to break into your house. The clubber is meditating on who can I pick up tonight? Everyone's meditating on something. But what is the supreme object for meditation? That we should be concerned with. So therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, the prime Bhakti Yoga text, Krishna is inviting you. Always think of me. And Krishna explains that the topmost meditator is the one who's always absorbed in meditating on Krishna, the infinitely all-attractive source. So you have to find the topmost object of your meditation. Otherwise, everyone's meditating on something. So we've covered many topics tonight, and some of them were more advanced than others, but I hope that we've left you with something that motivates you to go to a higher level. Some of you will be quicker than others. That's all right. For some of you, it may take a few more lifetimes. And for some of you, you're ready to get going right now. That's all right. Here at the Bhakti Corner, we want to facilitate all speeds, the slow trains and the express trains. So you're all welcome, and I thank you very much for your kind attention.